Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is the Eclipse transmission, the Ring of Fire transmission. It is the Daily Medicine transmission as well. So we are at June 10th, 2021, a new moon solar eclipse, 19 to 20 degrees Gemini. Oh boy. So things definitely feel different, don't they? It's almost like a different reality, almost entirely. So we're planting the seeds, and we get to watch them grow over the next 6 months, don't we? So of course it's a new moon. That means that we are embarking on a new lunar cycle. Of course that is also relevant, but as with all eclipses, the energy is going to ripple out over the next 6 months into the next eclipse season. So first of all, some logistics and some acknowledgments. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to my supporters, my subscribers, my regular viewing community. Truly, I appreciate each and every one of you. The comments, the feedback, it's so wonderful, and I'm so grateful to have you here. And if you're new here, welcome. Thank you for dropping by. Joining us for this transmission for the new moon solar eclipse. And as always, whenever you interact with content like this by an independent content creator like myself, anytime you interact with the content actually supports the channel, supports the content. It signals to the AI to spread this message out to a wider audience. So when you like, you subscribe, you share, you comment, all of those activities actually are really supportive of this content and the work that I am doing, as well as other independent content creators. What does that mean? I don't have any sponsorship. I don't buy any views. I don't buy any subscribers. It's all organic. So if you really value this type of interaction, any type of relationship with the content really does actually help. So also a logistical aspect I want to bring attention to. Last night I did an astrology report for the eclipse. I'm pulling it down. There is no way that that report could have possibly done justice to the whole cycle, the whole lunar cycle, and what to expect through the coming of the summer and the fall, because we are going to have a summer solstice very soon within this lunar cycle, this monthly lunar cycle. And so there is so much more happening. And when I was prepping for it yesterday during the day, wow, there was so much coming in. It was almost too much. Like, it was just constant information. And isn't that really interesting that this is the essence of this eclipse, the ability to assimilate all of this information that we are consuming, that we are engaging with, right? That Gemini energy and the third house that it represents is about the conceptualization of our immediate environment, who we are in relation to the world that's seemingly outside of us. This is where our consciousness starts to really sprout, is in that third house and in Gemini. So the trick is to assimilate, and that's really the essence of this eclipse and the report. But you can really tell the difference between me first thing in the morning and me at the very end of the day. Just like most people, I'm definitely a morning person, and not so much that I'm exactly like chipper and ready to go as soon as I jump out of bed. But my channel, my ability to engage energetically, spiritually, intuitively is really powerful in that very early morning. 4 to 6 a.m. Is where I'm really the most I'm really just got the most going on. And so trying to do that at the end of the day, it was just, it was a totally different energy. And there was just, like I said, so much came through as I was preparing for the report that I have to go back and do it again. So it'll probably be today, because we're gonna go over the eclipse energy, and there's certainly no shortage of every single person that does this kind of work having their personal take on it. So it's not like for lack of information about what this eclipse means, but I really wanted to focus on the lunar month ahead and what is in store, and also this entire cycle leading up to November and December, because what seeds we are setting right now is going to be the story that we weave for ourselves over the course of the next 6 months, which we totally are in control of to a certain extent. And this is about being a conscious co-creator and a manifester, which is, again, that Mercurial Gemini energy. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to pull it down, and I'm going to do it again and really, give it the energy and attention that it absolutely deserves. I try to do it at the end of the day, and my partner was going to bed because he gets up so early for work, and my office is right next to the bed, blah, 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 blah. All of that stuff. Anyway, if you valued it and you thought it was good, that's great. So the next iteration will be way better in terms of content and the quality of it. So new moon, solar eclipse. Here we go, guys. 20 degrees of Gemini. Let's just get right into the chart for today and take a look at it, because this is where we're going to get some footing here and really look at what's going on. So assimilation is the name of the game here. And as we, look here at what's going on. Here's our chart for today. This is the chart of the eclipse, as you see here, right at 19 degrees, 47 minutes. The sun and the moon come together in a conjunction. And because we are on the nodal axis of the moon, then we are in, the same latitude as the sun. And we are seeing the moon partially block out the sun. So let's look at the map. And I did this yesterday, but I thought this was really cool. Just to go to timeanddate.com. There's so many places that you can check this out. Just kind of looking at the path here. And you can see here that the real path of the eclipse is going to go over the Arctic, the North Pole, starting from the very top tier of the United States, kind of the mid and northern part of the United States, and then goes over the Arctic North Pole and then comes around into Russia. So you can see that this is where you are going to see really the real spectacular view of the Ring of Fire, but also too throughout Canada and northern Alaska into Greenland, and of course parts of northern Europe as well. But even in the United States, as we're seeing here, make sure you can actually see this. Yes. You can see here that there was a path here through New England and New York and upper Pennsylvania. I did try to go out and go out at the time of the eclipse, right after I pulled the cards for the reading. So it was really pulling in that energy, and it was really hazy, and I didn't get to see the sun. It hadn't cleared the tree line as of yet, so I really wasn't able to get the full experience. But I will tell you that in 2017, I was in Oregon and was able to view that huge total solar eclipse, the Great American Eclipse, which was right on the ascendant of a very notable person in politics right now, and has been for the last couple of years. So that particular eclipse, I've witnessed that, and I plan on witnessing the next total solar eclipse that's going to move through the United States. Was actually going to move through again this kind of same area here, and that's going to be in 2024. So if you've never seen a total solar eclipse, or even these annular solar eclipses, they are a sight to behold, and you really do pick up on the energetic shifting. Now, this is really cool. We'll just look at the map in terms of a 3D perspective as well, which is, oops, where are we here? OBS, yes. We are looking at, here's the path again. As you can see, it goes over the Arctic and comes around. So, and then here is the larger shadow of this. So just to kind of give this basis in reality, whatever that means at this point, but you can see where the path is and where it impacts. Okay, now something else that happened that I'm not going to necessarily point to right this moment, but you can certainly go find these on there are many channels on YouTube, for instance, that really track this kind of stuff, is that there was a massive CME that came off the sun yesterday too, massive, huge, and the only saving grace is the fact that it was not pointed towards the planet. Had it been pointed towards Earth, we would have had another version of the Carrington event. And if you are familiar with the Carrington event, it was a huge CME solar flare event that happened in the late 19th century that with what little technology existed, which is mostly telegrams and things of that nature, completely shut it all down, right, and burned it out. And so if this CME had been facing towards the planet yesterday, we would have had a total blackout, I would say. Like, it would, the strength of it would just have burned all of the circuitry of our electromagnetic devices all over the planet. It would have been substantial. So the fact that it wasn't facing towards us, I don't know exactly what that means, but it's really very providence is, we are in grace, right? Because otherwise, what a shit show that would have been. In some ways, it might have been like this awakening moment, right? To have these this massive CNE and solar weather that just shuts everything down. Talk about awakening. But it was mitigated for whatever reason, right? We can't, it could just be random, but I feel like, especially because these flares tend to get much more powerful around eclipse time. So it's not surprising that it happened, but what is surprising and something that we can be thankful for is that it wasn't facing the planet. Okay. So there is our solar weather. There are our solar and, astronomical celestial events kind of in real time. So now we can look at the astrological chart, and we look at real time, but actually moving through time, because astrology is a fourth dimensional modality, isn't it? It allows us to move through time in a three-dimensional way, right? In our bodies, in our physical reality, but we move through time and acknowledging these fixed points in time so that we get to make a choice on how we are going to follow that pathway, which pathway we're going to follow as this beautiful matrix of our reality unfolds in every living moment. So we see the eclipse here, like I said, 19 to 20 degrees. Now, let's talk about here for 1 second, let's talk about what this Sabian symbol is. And I've talked about it endlessly because it is, being exposed to a modern cafeteria displays an abundance of food, right, from all over the world, all different regions. There's something to be said for this multicultural, reality that we have here on this planet, right? It's a global multicultural experience now because of technology and the means of communication that is through the internet and through all of the other means that would have been completely wiped out had that CME, had that CME came to Earth, all of that would have been wiped out. We would have been reduced to an organizational structure that was more like the 19th century because there would have been no electronics, no means to communicate. Maybe landlines for telephones, maybe. I'm not exactly sure about that. So this eclipse, right? So the moon is eclipsing the sun. We get a ring of fire, right? It's not totally blocked out, but if I could have played Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire as my intro, I totally would, but I know I would have gotten a copyright ding from YouTube almost immediately. But if you think about the lyrics of that, I fell into a burning ring of fire and I went down, down, down as the flames went higher, and it burns, 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 the ring of fire, right? So the moon in this moment is allowing us is allowing for this assimilation process that this represents, this degree of Gemini, is allowing for it, and it's like mitigating it emotionally, allowing us to intuitively and even subconsciously make this assimilation. Now, the thing that's going to be really powerful about this moment is the Mercury cazimi, right? Coming into conjunction with the sun and the moon, right? Pretty much at the same time. They're going to come together right after the eclipse. And we can actually look at that in terms of the current transits right at this moment, because I have it set for the exact time of the eclipse, 20 degrees Gemini. So here we are. Now we've already, so the moon and Mercury have already met at this next degree, 21 degrees of Gemini, which is a tumultuous labor demonstration, right? Because part of the Gemini archetype is always the balance between the polarity, and the mutability allows for a very seamless travel, right? Just like Mercury is the swift traveler and the messenger, able to move seamlessly, seemingly outside of time, right? In space between the polarity, and bringing the message, moving swiftly into these spaces that almost instantaneously, like time traveling, for instance. But one of the things when we bring it back down to reality in our physical material reality is when there is one side that is really propped up, eventually the laws of the universe will force the other side to, in some way, shape, or form, to find balance. And when we're talking about Gemini, we are talking about the realm of our mind, communication, conceptualization, and the way, and our nervous system, and the way we express ourselves, right? And when there's one side that is privileged and is getting all of the energy and it's propped up by it, there has to be a balance. And this is where there's kind of an emotional outburst that Mercury is representing. So it meets the moon at this degree right after, right? They kind of cross over each other because Mercury is still retrograde, and then soon we'll meet the sun. So it's like Mercury's giving us the message. Mercury retrograde is giving us the message, but it's retrograde, right? So we're reviewing, we're going back over our notes. And in this position, this trickster energy is really strong for me. Mercury as the trickster, right? We don't know what Mercury is going to do, where he's going to end up, right? Because it's outside of time and space. It's riding the light beam, so to speak. And in that reversal position, the trickster energy coming in to instigate in some way this balancing point, right? That all of a sudden there's going to be a flip in some way, and there's going to be an expression, a very, very strong expression, in order to, like an emotional outburst in some ways. And so when Mercury retrograde meets the sun, so the moon is like emotionally and subconsciously allowing us to assimilate all this new information, all of everything we have access to, right? At this point, ignorance is really a choice, because we can access just about all information that we need, either through the internet, communication with each other, and really our own intuitive guidance, which is where the moon really is stepping up and assisting. Because it's one thing to express ourselves through this, it's another to feel it within us. And the moon in this position, as just every new moon, is a seed point, right? We're setting intentions not only for this lunar cycle, but for this entire eclipse season of the next 6 months. Because there's a lot that's going to happen just in this month. And then throughout the next 6 months, we got retrogrades, all kinds of retrogrades. This entire cycle, or side of the chart here, from Uranus all the way to Pluto, it's all going to be retrograde soon, and will be throughout the eclipse season, and then of course come into its direct, like one after the other, come fall, right? So the assimilation of new information, the assimilation of all of the information is really the intention we want to set. Because what is assimilation but, if you want to think about it in terms of food, it's digestion, assimilation. Now, you eat a bunch of garbage, right? You're not going to assimilate what you need into your system in order to grow healthy, right? And so we're talking in the realm of the mind and the realm of information. And we've seen this scribe in our readings coming up many times to show us how absolutely vital it is that we are recording information, taking it in from all angles, all subjects, everything, to bring it to a much more cohesive knowledge of everything that operates under, within the collective, and especially the collective unconscious, right? When we talk about that Pisces energy, because this is in a square to Neptune and to Pallas Athena in Pisces as well. And so even with all of this strong Gemini energy, the square that forces us to change, right? We lean into this square, these cross purposes. Wow. Neptune and Pallas Athena is really just dissolving everything, and in some ways, Pallas Athena, the goddess of strategy and wisdom, showing us that catharsis is really the impetus for purification when we really need a soul intervention. And Neptune in Pisces is, dissolving everything down, and it's been dissolving everything down, and now it's starting to coalesce, right? We're getting close to Aries again. So this part of the cycle is just now starting to coalesce. And where are we at? We have to be very realistic with ourselves about our potential and our limitations, so that we can actually be very clear about our dharma and work through it, to live through it in an interdependent and centralized way with the people that are right close to us. You have this vast expanse of the ocean, and then you have this island, right, with a small group of people, 3 different people on it. So you have this harmony and synthesis that the 3 represents here with the Neptune in Pisces. But again, we are in this really highly mental state, especially Mercury retrograde meeting all of this. And really, when it meets the sun in the Gazimi, after the moon has moved past the sun and the sun is again in its full brightness, we are going to really feel a need to express ourselves, even if it's internally, right? Even if we are having a moment of like, oh, wow, that is something I didn't know, or, oh, I'd never seen that on the buffet before. Let me scoop some more of that. Let me scoop some of that on my plate. But if our assimilation, right, our digestive fire is not strong, we can't assimilate. And this is a really good analogy for consuming content and consuming ideas and thoughts, because it's one thing to just consume and consume, but if you can't assimilate it, and that is the basis of Ayurvedic medicine. I know this is kind of a tangent, but this is coming out really strong right now, is that the whole basis of Ayurvedic medicine and the philosophy of Ayurvedic medicine, which is based in India and the Vedic tradition, Ayurveda. It's the science of life, really, where Hatha Yoga, Pranayama, all of these practices are all part of this one philosophical system, kind of like Chinese medicine has all of the different aspects. But in Ayurveda, it's the digestion that is the primary immune function. If there is toxicity in the digestive system, if your digestive fire is not healthy, this is the seed point of disease. And so if you think about this, using this analogy to apply it to our reality of our thoughts, our ideas, the communication, the content, the info, right? And the way we conceptualize reality. If our digestive fire is not strong, then we are wasting all of this. We are wasting our mental energy. And so this is really important to hold, especially when Mercury comes to meet the sun in that Cazimi, right? And it's so brilliant, right? It's a brilliant flash of insight as a retrograde. So it may not be exactly what we think it was going to be. It may be an internalized experience, and it certainly will be very emotional, because it is emotional outburst. And the emotional outburst is a response to the realization that something is way out of balance. So this is all encompassed right in this eclipse. And so knowing this is how we can nurture this seed point that is going to grow over the next 6 months. So I really encourage you to be willing to try some things you haven't tried before in terms of consuming content, information, engaging with it, but make sure your digestive fire is high, and that you are, and this is where discernment comes in, right? Knowing what your sensitivities are, knowing what you do want to eat, knowing what you don't want to eat, being willing to try things, right? And if you know you don't like it, or it's not working for you, or you can't digest it, know that you're not going to eat it again, right? This is all analogy, but it's the mind, right? And our ability to manifest is coming from the Gemini archetype and the Mercurial archetype as well. Now, there's a lot of other things happening just today. I didn't think that I was going to actually talk about the astrology, but it's really clear that we need to look at this very, very closely for today, because it's not just all of this, but there's so many other things happening. So what else we have going on today for this eclipse is, and like I said, we have this square to this Pisces energy as well. And this is the cross purposes, because how are we supposed to really decentralize and be realistic about our potential and also our limitations to really know our dharma? And how can we at the same time allow ourselves to purify and to allow this catharsis to happen in the soul intervention in order to purify what has been corrupted, and then and at the same time be very willing to surrender to what our role and dharma is in this moment. This is going to be where we have to really lean in, and there's a lot of confusion. This is a mutable square, right? Mutable water of Pisces, mutable air of Gemini. There's not much to anchor into in this type of transit, right? It's mutable, it's nebulous, right? There's not much to anchor into, and so we have to be aware of that as well, and just lean into how uncomfortable that is, because it's going to be in that nebulous space of Pisces that eventually the seed point comes and coalesces back into that Aries energy. And this is going to happen down the line, but for right now, it's the discomfort of the nebulous quality of Pisces and Gemini, and not really being able to anchor into anything. And this is going to be highlighted a lot more as we start to have squares with Chiron and then Mars coming into Leo today. So Mars is sitting at the last degree of Cancer. This degree is about the honoring and the glorification of our traditions, of our past, of our ancestry, because Cancer is, that familial matrix and bond, but it does spread to, your traditions, right? Your ancestral traditions, your family traditions, your cultural traditions, the aspects that hold us and our character as it develops within these types of traditions and the bonds specifically. And we'll talk about where Venus is in Cancer too, but Mars is at this very last degree, glorifying these traditions, glorifying all of the aspects that it has been, Mars as the warrior has been wanting to protect and also be nourished by. And now it's moving into Leo. Boy, oh boy, we're about to get supercharged. We're about to get supercharged. The blood's going to be rushing to our head. We're going to want to act. We're going to want to act on our own creative expression. Remember, Leo is the rulership of the sun, right? And so we are, with Mars in this fire, we're about to, our digestive fire is about to really turn on, but the energy is going to be more like the Kundalini rising as much, more than anything else. And Mars is going to act on that, right? We're going to feel that masculine warrior energy be infused. I mean, it's, you can look at it from almost a tantric perspective if you want. But you can also look at it from a metaphysical perspective, in mundane, if you know where this is happening in your chart, which I think is really going to be the focus of the astrology report, is kind of showing each sign where the eclipse is happening, so you can really kind of have some practical information here. But Mars is going to move into Leo almost by tomorrow, so we're going to be charged, and this is important, where you're going to get that fire and that ambition. We're going to be super confident, and we're ready to act on what it is that we're passionate about, right? And what allows us to really sit in the seat of our power. This is going to be really powerful. So, but in the meantime, as Mars is sitting at this last degree, it's important that we realize that what at one point was born out of a revolution, right, is now what extols law and order, right? It is and is very traditional and something to be valued in that way. And so that's very interesting. That's a very interesting dynamic to go from the very beginning, right, of the 0 degrees Cancer, where you make that decision, and then come to the very end where you value and glorify all of the traditions that encompass that one stabilized point of a root, which is what Cancer really represents. So we're going to get the fire. It's coming, absolutely, with Mars and Leo. And the challenge, I think, for this month and then throughout the next 6 weeks, really, but it's definitely this month, because Mars is going to transit through Leo during this time, is all of the squares that are going to happen with Uranus and Taurus. There's going to be an opposition with Saturn with Mars and Leo, and eventually there'll be a square with a Scorpio moon, which is, that's going to be intense in and of itself. So in the meantime, that first degree of Leo, right, the blood rushing to the head, right, it is just the heart pumping and realizing, accessing our passion, which is what Leo really represents. So that fire is coming. And so we have to be able to use it appropriately and not waste it. And this is going to be, I think, brought about where Venus is in Cancer today. So this degree is really about the stress of being shaped from a raw potential into something beautiful and has social value, has value within our own personality integration as well. So, the diamond is just is an organic structure. It's just carbon atoms all tightly packed together, right? And so under pressure, under heat, these carbon materials like coal, for instance, are going to turn into a diamond when exposed to pressure and heat, because it's just like all of these carbon atoms are just getting compressed into each other. And then you have this substance, which is piezoelectric, right? Diamond as well as quartz, silicon dioxide. It's important. Silicon dioxide, quartz crystal. They both have a piezoelectric effect, which allows for energy and heat to move along its surface. It transfers energy. It allows the diamond can hold more energy. And this is what we talk about, the crystalline structure of the planet, the crystalline structure of our own DNA matrix. It is about literally holding more energy and the capacity to hold more light and more energy and more heat. And so Venus, in a very palpable way today, is representing that this part of ourselves that represents love and attraction and harmony and graciousness and beauty that Venus represents, especially in Cancer, the value of our family and our familial relationships and the value of our stabilized core of who we are is going to be subjected to, on some level, this really uncomfortable process of shaping, right? A diamond is beautiful and valuable in its own right, and it's naturally created, but it also is shaped. And it's also, so it undergoes a process of cutting and heat, and it's uncomfortable. And with Venus, this is what we engage with our five senses, right? This is what we engage with the world around us and our resources. So be prepared to have ourselves shaped, have our relationship to our family undergo this process. But what's going to come out of it is the allowance of more energy to flow through us in a very material way, in terms of our familial relationships, the stabilization of who we are. It's going to undergo an intense modification, but there's something to be said for where we come out of it, right? This ability to hold more light, especially when it comes to our relationships, to our family, and those people that we have really tight bonds with, and our traditions, right? Our traditions and who we're loyal to. Oh, wow. It's incredible what this eclipse is really holding for us. And so what else is happening today is we talked about the square to Neptune, the square to Pallas Athena. And there's two aspects that are also coming exact today that are important to point out. Number one, and we talked about this a lot yesterday, but Vesta, asteroid Vesta in Virgo is going to be in an exact square with Juno retrograde in Sagittarius. We talked a lot about this yesterday because it came up with the moon's connection, but now these two asteroids, these goddesses, they're in a square relationship with each other, where we have this karmic confrontation that is an absolute necessity on the path of our purification, our discipleship, all of those Virgo aspects would get us to clean up our act, essentially. And Vesta supporting us, being the flame within us. There is that fire of assimilation within us, but we have to actually face this deeper animal nature. We have to face where we've been in order to evolve to where we're going. Karmic confrontation. We have the capacity to hold this, as difficult as it is, and the square here, again, to Juno retrograde in Sagittarius, right? That is really having us review our contractual obligations, our commitment. Did we hold up our end of the bargain? Is the value system and the collective paradigm that we are falling under and believing in, right? The truth that we are all organized around, is that, in fact, do we have an obligation to that? Is it holding its end of the bargain up? And this degree was, we talked about it before, it's the same degree as the lunar eclipse last year at this time, where the moon was on June 5th, which is, right about the time that the riots were in full swing. There was the burning of the church in DC. There was the photo op with Trump and how everybody lost their minds about it. And I posted on social media that yesterday, just before this square is exact today, we find that the investigation of the Department of the Interior Inspector General completely exonerated Trump in terms of the National Park Service, their law enforcement response to Lafayette Park, and it had nothing to do with the photo op, and it had everything to do with setting a perimeter for other reasons. So again, we're addressing here, whether or not we are even responsible to these contractual arrangements right now. We really have to consider them when it comes to this collective paradigm. And we are talking about the South Node, right? So that's something to consider as well, something that we have already mastered, but it's time to let go of. It's time to release these larger paradigms of belief that we've been organizing around this whole time. So that's exact today, not to mention that Uranus and asteroid Ceres are coming into a conjunction in Taurus. Asteroid Ceres is the goddess of the grain and agriculture. Uranus is the collective third eye and the agent of our awakening, right? That ruler of Aquarius, the stargate to our ascension, essentially. That's what it represents. Being in Taurus, really making this radical transformation and disruption in our material reality, and specifically about the baggage that we have to hold in response to our desire to gain more, right? And Ceres is the goddess of the grain and agriculture. And as she meets Uranus, on some level, with an eclipse, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a really big uptick in something like tectonic activity and earthquakes, but also too that, it's going to come down to something very basic like food supply and the accumulation of resources and nourishment, and again it's resources on a material level as well, like in terms of financial resources, because we use money to buy our food, and Ceres naturally provides this, but she also has her own cycle where she comes into a yin phase, and this is going to be kicked off with the summer solstice, because the summer solstice is in fact the recognition that the yin phase is going to begin. So this conjunction today with Uranus and Ceres is going to really, I think, disrupt so strongly this, our food supply in some way. It's going to disrupt our ability to access nourishment and really get us thinking and really getting us to acknowledge, again, the baggage on some of this stuff, and allowing that conjunction to really set a chain of events in terms of, how are we going to awaken through this process? Maybe we need to reconfigure entirely how we engage with the food production and dissemination and the resources that are involved in it. So that's something to consider too. But that conjunction is absolutely exact today as well. So this is the chart for today. So we'll go into the fullness of it in the astrology report. And for now, we're going to go into the reading because it's very interesting. And it really speaks to, I think, this adjustment that's going to happen, that is happening, and our ability to assimilate what is adjusting, and to assimilate all of the access to information, and assimilate specifically Mercury retrograde in Gemini meeting the sun, this brilliant realization, the light bulb going off, maybe within us, maybe in a way that seems like, it's a very trickster, Heyoka, sacred clown type of energy that a Mercury retrograde represents, but it also it's coming. The adjustment is here, and it's what we're going to do with it. Are we going to assimilate this information in order to plant a seed for this cycle? The ability to take in what it is that we need to nourish ourselves, nourish our system, fulfill our immediate environment, and but it's going to also highlight in a lot of ways the two worlds split, and it's important that through this process that we don't lose our humanity, we don't lose our compassion, and have to realize that some people are going to have to go on very difficult emotional journeys through this process. So here we go. Adjustment, or in the traditional deck, it's justice, right? Venus in Libra. Now, number 8, there's now something I want to point out, and we'll see it more clearly as we go through, but there are 2s and 8s. 2s and 8s, right? There's some other things too. There's a lot of reversals in this reading. In fact, the only thing that is not reversed is the 2 of Scrolls at the top, which is our awareness of this two world split, but everything else is either turned on its head or not fully upright or is directional. So that's important to consider too, that again, this adjustment period, there's a lot of internal review with Mercury retrograde. 8 is that divine intervention moment, right? The 8 is the Gnostic number. 8 represents Jesus in Gnostic Christianity, actually. So 8 is the justice or the adjustment. Venus in Libra with a very strong Saturn component. You can see the scales here of justice. You can see the woman in the middle. She's got the sword and it's very strongly rooted in, but it's reversed, okay? Now, upright, this is uncompromising honesty, balance, justice, fairness. There's kind of no way around this when it's upright. So reversed, this is a lot of ways we can look at it. Resisting this adjustment and pushing back against it. Well, Mercury retrograde, certainly. Self-righteousness, right? When we have an adjustment or there's a justice or fairness, when it's reversed, it's very it could be an inappropriate expression of this, again, which would be self-righteous. Now, remember, this is a causal factor. So adjustment is here, though. Adjustment, and in a way that's either internalized adjustment with this reversal or some resistance to this adjustment, or this is another thing, a self-righteousness, an I told you so type of energy that is also coming in. So be mindful of this. Again, we can't lose our humanity, our compassion, or forgiveness as we are looking very clearly at this two-world split, as we see here at the top with the 2 of Scrolls. But this is our causal factor, this major adjustment that is right in front of us, and it's either internalized or there's resistance to it. So this is our causal factor coming into the heart of the moment. Another Libra card. So interesting. Libra is really the application of our mastery to find balance, to apply this to find balance. But Gemini is just very naturally moving simultaneously within the balance. It exists simultaneously as the twins. So no matter what, it's always going to find its balance very naturally if we move as Mercury moves. But Libra is much more about applying ourselves. So consider that as well, that we are in a position, this is representing us applying ourselves, especially that karmic confrontation with Vesta in Virgo, applying ourselves to the balance of the scales. So the 2 of Swords is the best. It's like the best card in the sword suit, right? It's the very beginning where it's just still, besides the ace, it's differentiated, but there's peace of mind here, right? There's 2 swords and they're crossed, but you can see that they're meeting in the middle of this bowl. And there is geometry that's it looks kind of like, they're kind of got the star thing going on, but it also looks like origami that's been unfolded. It hasn't gained its 3-dimensional structure yet, but it's very much balanced and symmetrical as well. So in the moon in Libra, peace of mind. So we know that moon in Libra people tend to really emotionally put themselves out there to make everybody happy, right? In order to use your emotions to find that and apply your emotions to find balance or peace in your relationship. So, but this this card is really directing its energy towards the outcome, which is another 2, which is 2 of Wands, but also reversed. So we do see there's a lot of new energy here with a seed point of the eclipse and the new moon, planting a seed. So it's beginning of analysis, right? And so you can see that this adjustment period's coming through, and now we have to emotionally, and each of us individually and personally at the heart of it, we start to analyze, right? And we haven't gotten emotionally invested quite yet. And so it's very much balanced and just in our minds, and it's just the beginning of analysis. And it's bringing this undirected idea, right, that would normally be represented by the ace, towards a specific form. And it's really being directed at this, what this is all impacting, what it's leading to, right, the effect of our cause and effect relationship, which is, we'll explain in a little bit, this 2 of Wands. But it's also an arrangement of differences. So there's not a melding here. It's really important to understand that there's no merging, there's no synthesis. This is really the arrangement of differences in a very balanced way, in a peaceful way. And we're just starting to analyze it, okay? You can really tell that with this major adjustment that's happening, especially with the fact that it's internalized with Mercury retrograde, it is resistance because there may be this trickster energy. It is this coming to this moment where we are arranging our differences in a very balanced way, and we're bringing something that's undirected into a form. Now, at the root energetically, the 8 of Forces is also reversed, the lightning bolt. And when it's reversed like this is like the storm is already passed, the lightning bolt has already struck, the damage has already been done, and the storm is clearing away. So in some ways, at our energetic root, right, where we are drawing our power from, is the idea that the storm is already dispersing. Like, it's the split is already happening and has been happening. And really what will happen is that we become aware of it very obviously, that there is a split. But at the root of things, the split has already happened, and it's now time to what? Set new seed, plant new seeds, new growth. Time to let it grow. And it's nothing short of divine power coming in as as a force of lightning, as a storm. It's coming in, it's already come in, it's already made the split, right? And now we can draw our power from this place that it's time to start setting new roots, to create new growth, to set new seeds, and to use that experience as kind of a fertilizing experience, right? As much as the tree has been split and set on fire, there has been a deluge of water, like yesterday. Oh my gosh. A deluge of water, just storming. It was just raining and raining and raining, and thundering and lightning, right? It just came in and nourished everything and then cleared away. So we can really root ourselves here. And we're going to see that how much power we really have to weave our own reality and our own tale and outside of time and space. This is really, again, this is going to be highlighted with Chiron of where it is right now, because it's already frustrating to hold the encapsulated potential of where we're going without it actually manifesting yet. And then Chiron in the mix is also making it's really just triggering us over and over. So this 8 of Forces, where we can draw our power from, is letting us know that the storm has happened, it's already passed, and dispersed, and it's time to move on from here. And this is going to make the 2 world split. I mean, it's going to become very obvious to us. It's on our conscious mind. It's something that we are very consciously aware of. And it's not only that it's split, but we're going to see very clearly, a lot more people are going to see very clearly where this split is between our spiritual nature and our material nature. And this is the split along many different lines in terms of choices and political ideology and all these other things really does boil down very simply to this spiritual and material aspect, and it's not to say that, man, this is going to sound, I don't want to give the impression that, you don't, just because you made a decision about certain aspects means that you are not spiritually aligned. That's not true, and that's not what I'm saying. But it does it reflects what's going on inside of us. And this split is still very much active within us, and which is why it's manifesting so much now in our conscious awareness and at the very, very early stages of it in terms of a mental concept, right? The Two of Scrolls is ideas. And the conflict, this is where the assimilation and the integration of the new moon solar eclipse is really going to, it's really going to find its expression is in our ability to integrate these two aspects of ourselves and of society, right? And this adjustment period that the justice, right? The Venus and Libra card that is going to be our causal factor as a result of this, whatever's happening right now, is going to lead our attention right to the fact that there is this split within ourselves, within our own hearts, in our minds, between our material and spiritual, but also outside of us, right? It's out there that we see. And it's because within us and where we're rooted is that there has already been this bolt of lightning that has split things apart and our job is eventually to come back together, but we're not. This is going to take time. This is going to take time over the course of this lunar cycle, definitely over the course of this eclipse cycle. Okay, because like I said, retrograde season is about to be upon us, and all of these outer planets are all going to be retrograde. And so we're going to have to go back over old territory in a lot of different ways. So just be mindful that this is a process that's going to play itself out, and we're going to keep taking in information, and we need our digestive fire in a spiritual way to be very healthy so that we can assimilate our what we engage with conceptually in order to turn it into and manifest our reality. So where we're headed here, this Two of Wands is reversed as well, right? Dominion. Now, Mars and Aries, so we do know that Mars is about to come into Leo. So the fire is about to be ignited within that warrior energy, that divine masculine, that action hero part of us that's ready to go out and save the world. But really, Mars is just doing it because Mars is actualizing its own potential, right? And moving forward, this is more like Mars coming into Leo is like a rebirth, right? A rebirth into the fullness of who Mars is. And there certainly will be action there, but it's more like combustion. So this being reversed as our outcome to all of this energy of the eclipse, really, again, dominion. So that in itself is interesting with all this audit, everything around the audits in all the different states, and how Dominion was the company that created and was responsible for all these election machines. So that's certainly not lost on me, maybe not you either, but from a much more metaphysical and esoteric position, this degree, or this card being reversed, again, internalized dominion. We start to come into our power and awareness of our power to create as a result of all of this, right? It also can mean, when it's reversed like this, is revenge, restlessness, destruction. And with Chiron and Aries, this can really come out onto the surface. We have to be very mindful that not everybody is going to respond in a way that we think is really at our highest potential. We have to be aware of that. And even if they do, if it's going to be much more of an internalized experience as this card is reversed, this Two of Wands. So it may not be time yet to act on anything Mars in Aries. It may not be time to really ignite this potential within us right this moment, but we will feel it, certainly, and some people are going to feel it in a way that they are going to act on it, and it will be destructive and restless, right, and full of revenge, right? Mars in Aries, when it is not well aspected or reversed or whatever, revenge, ooh, ugh. What was that Klingon saying, right? Revenge is a dish best served cold, right? Right? Because when it's like this, man, you make mistakes and you become reckless. And But at the same time, this peace of mind, this analysis that's at the heart of the matter today, this moon in Libra, the Two of Swords, there is a new beginning of analysis that is coming, and it's being projected towards this outcome of reversal. So it's important that we be very mindful of how this energy can get flipped on its head, literally, and we find ourselves with the points of these daggers pointing up and out as well. So remember, Mercury retrograde, it's still going back through all this territory. So be mindful of that and not let this take you over. Some people it will, and there's no getting around that. But we don't have to engage with that if we are mindful and aware of ourselves. And it's kind of inevitable with all of these twos involved. So there's some wonderful guidance here to help us through this process of not only today, but through the entire eclipse cycle, I would say. So number one, the Six of Scrolls. It says the sands of time. You see this individual is rolling up his sleeve. It's time to get to work. He's got the hourglass. It's almost empty, sitting up on this pedestal. The sun is setting. He's got all of his scrolls behind him. It's time to start acting on these plans and ideas. 3 lights over here. That's interesting. We have a 6, right? A 6 is that Star of David, that synthesis and harmony that requires participation. It's time to get to work. Now, the fact that it's reversed like this, this is about time and the circular nature of time and how we can actually impact time. Okay, so there's more time than you think. And this is why this reversal of the Two of Wands is so interesting to me. And this is the way that we can mitigate what otherwise could be a very reckless energy. And to cultivate this creative this dominion energy within us instead of acting out inappropriately. There's more time than we think, right? And of course, it doesn't seem like that. And I'm not suggesting, again, more complacency or bypassing. That's not what this is. This is that the task at hand may take more research. We may not have all of the information yet. It goes back to the assimilation, right? Taking in as much as we can and making sure we can assimilate it. If we think we're out of time, we're just going to shove food into our mouth, right? And then we can't assimilate it. Then we get an indigestion or they get bloated, whatever. I'm really enjoying this imagery, by the way, of digestion and Ayurveda because it's very practical. Now, things may take more time, and we've already gone through the storm. Like I said, it's dispersing. And so there's a lot to learn from this. And so investigate some things further. Take a deep breath, my God, and realize that there is more time than we think because the split has already happened. There's no going back and fixing that right now. But that was called a fecundating experience, a fertilizing experience, that bolt of lightning, right? Just like Uranus meeting Ceres today, bolt of lightning where the actual aspects of our nourishment and what gives us sustenance is being turned on its head. But there's more time than we think, and it's because here we have the spider coming out again, which is about weaving our reality. We have more time than we think, and we can't just bust out and do it recklessly. We have to actually take the time to do this right, and to realize that we create our own reality. And this spider message is coming through strong. And this time of year, where I'm at least, man, the spiders are everywhere, right? They are in full effect coming out of their whatever hibernation. I don't know if they necessarily hibernate, but they're becoming way more active. They are, laying eggs, and then new life is coming forward, and they are all over they're everywhere. And so keep an eye. I mean, I see them everywhere now, and in certain situations where they've been really obvious. And so I usually take them as a shamanic message, an animal message. So we weave the reality, right? And so we can't rush it. A spider isn't rushing it. It is just doing it on the time frame that it is intuitively and instinctually programmed to do. we weave our own reality. There is a feminine power here to hold space. Believe me, this Cancer energy is going to come out really strong very soon. The moon's going to move into Cancer, and we're going to have the solstice, which is the sun moving into Cancer. So creating the space in order for something to grow is just as important, and weaving our own reality is what manifestation actually is. But we can't manifest and masterfully if we don't assimilate all of the information that we are taking in, all of the light that we are taking in, right? Because that is what information really is. So this is the guidance for where we're at energetically at the root, right? When it comes to this two-world split that we're going to be, if we're not already consciously aware of it, collectively it's going to become even more obvious. So the honeybee, let compassion and forgiveness be your top priority, because the reality is that we have to still work with and within this split. It's not just going to heal itself overnight where everybody's going to be on the same page, right? We are going to have to acknowledge this and not allow ourselves to get pulled into this self-righteousness that this reversal of adjustment could represent. It's important that we don't let go of this. This has to be our top priority. Love is the remover of obstacles. And because some people are going to go on a very difficult journey, and maybe also too that we want to go on a journey, and we need to be patient and attend to what's right in front of us, right? This can go a lot of different ways. What I will tell you is that whenever I do personal readings for people and this card comes up, most of the time it usually actually signifies a real journey, like a transplant or a move in some way. So, and because it's emotional, with the roses, we are moving over water. You can see here that they're loading up the boat. These people are waiting, and they're going to go out to sea, right? We're going to go out to sea. And maybe it's not time yet to go right out to sea. And maybe some people are really going to struggle with taking this emotional journey as well. And be patient. Be forgiving, be compassionate about this split, because we're all doing exactly the best that we can. And we came here to hold a specific resonance, and not everybody is on the same page at the same time. And that's not because they are bad people. And I know that it's been difficult, regardless of your position, to not be resentful and to not engage in the emotional aspect, which is why the the Orion starseed signature is all over this eclipse, because it's important that we can engage with this realm of ideas without becoming emotionally attached. But this feels in some ways that we're not ready to move on quite yet. We are maybe taking a journey within ourselves emotionally. Some people are not going to enjoy this journey. Maybe it's a little choppy. If you get seasick really easily, this can, especially on the little tender boat, oh my gosh. And out in the big ships, it's a little bit easier. But if you're a person that gets seasick, then you know what I'm talking about. This can have us turn a little green, right? Not everybody is going to address this emotional journey the same way. And this is why, because of this two-world split, right? And even within our own mind, it's there. And so in some ways, we do have to maintain this compassion and forgiveness for ourselves. Maybe it's not time to move on quite yet. We have more research to do. And also that some people are really going to resist this emotional journey as well, and to be compassionate towards them and trust that everybody's going to do exactly what they need to do at the right time, because that's what we're all here to do. Ultimately, we have to, there's a lot of review that still needs to happen. And with this new moon, it's still a dark moon, right? And it completely, for the most part, covered the expression of who we are in this Gemini type of energy. And I think that with a Mercury retrograde, I think that's exactly what this is representing, in terms of there's still review to do. There's still spots within us that need to be addressed, right? This journey, we still need to, maintain our compassion and forgiveness, and to realize that we are in charge and we weave our own reality. And so when we do that, it will cause a split to go even further, right? And that's important to realize as well. For as much as there is this beginning of analysis that the Two of Swords represents, where it's leading is either a recognition of our own power within us, or a reckless and destructive acting out because of our resistance and unconsciousness about all of this. And this Seven of Roses speaks to this a lot in terms of the journey we all need to take on our own, and to be compassionate towards ourselves and towards other people in the face of what is a very obvious two-world split. It won't be like this forever, but we have to acknowledge that for what it is right now and utilize that information that's coming through with all this Gemini energy in order to actually grow and step into our power, and know that outside of time and space, this is where we manifest. It doesn't happen. We need a physical reality in order to manifest, but it doesn't happen in the physical, right? It happens in the astral. It happens in the energetic realm. And this is where, time and space don't really factor in. And this is why the sands of time, yes, there are certain things that are probably on a timeline, but there are other things in terms of the manifestation of the reality that we want to weave, right? That spider is outside of time and space. The split has already happened. So just be easy on yourself. Chiron is really, really making it hard to just settle in and hold the potential for when it's the right time to sprout, okay? And use that fire to assimilate all of these ideas. Use it as a digestive type of energy to assimilate and take these ideas to where your body needs them, where your mind needs them, where your soul needs them, okay? So I'm going to leave it there, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Truly, I do. And I'm so glad that we're all here together for this journey. And if you are interested in reading or energetic work at Reiki, very supportive, shamanic energy work, we go in and we do the cord cutting, we do psychic surgery, get really deep into intuitive stuff, that past lives, ancestral trauma, all that stuff comes out and dealt with in the shamanic energy work. The Reiki is just the channeling of divine source energy and does its own work, right? Very supportive. All can be done distance. If you're interested in any of these things, you can go to the link in the description box below to the website, catalystenergies.net. And you can access my services and send me a message. If you want to connect on Facebook or Telegram, that's also linked in the description box below. And we can stay connected that way for now, for as much as we have access to all of this connection through the internet. Hopefully we don't have another Carrington event anytime soon but that's, it is what it is. So, my friends, take care of yourselves. I really hope that you harness the most you can out of this eclipse season, this new moon cycle. And I'll be back later today with more information and more astrology, and we'll do it all over again, and really get into all of the messages that came through for this cycle, because it was pretty substantial and I want to do it justice. And sometimes things don't happen on the timeline that we want them to happen on, do they? We have to let them unfold naturally, and with the least amount of resistance. And that's a really clear indication of how this reading just went, actually. So I have no problem going back and doing it again, because that's just part of being human. All right, guys, I love you. Take care. Have a great day. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.